right, folks, here we go. First show went pretty well. Had a couple comments. We got one compliment and one criticism, which isn't bad. 50-50, not too bad. For the person that called in and did not like the programming, apparently it was not up to his or her Christian standards. Well, folks, let me just suggest this. If what you're watching offends you, turn it off, okay? Simple as that. So, the first topic I'd like to talk about tonight is kind of a big one, something that has been bothering me for quite some time. It's Columbus Rock and Roll Radio. All right, folks, here's the problem. Now, there are two main radio rock stations in Columbus, QFM 96 and 99.7 The Blitz. I'm not going to talk about CD 101 because I personally think they have a little more class than the other two stations, and I kind of want to deal with just the rock and roll station. So let's start with The Blitz. Now, my number one complaint with The Blitz is Susie Wad. I'm sorry, this woman is the whore of Columbus radio, folks. She has been hired and fired for more radio stations than Mayor LaShucka has rolls on his gut, okay? This woman sounds like she was breastfed Marlboros, you know? And not only that, but her lack of taste is absolutely so revolting that the only reason I can fathom her still being on the radio is the fact that the majority of her faithful listeners are just as moronic as she is, okay? And, you know, and the rest of the DJs at the Blitz are just as piss poor as Susie Wad. Let's start with the gatekeeper, okay? The gatekeeper should basically change his name to the bitter, unemployable, permanently stuck in Columbus radio loser, okay? Because that's what he is. And if this sounds a little bit rough, I'm sorry, but just listen to the way that he treats his listeners. Now, granted, the Blitz listeners are generally about as bright as the average Down syndrome busboys you see at, you know, Bob's Big Boy at 2:30 in the morning. But, you know, even the mentally challenged deserve a little respect once in a while. You know, this guy not only has to be rude to the high school dropout losers that call his radio station, but then he has to play the phone calls on the air. I mean, this is like beating up a paraplegic or pushing a blind guy into traffic. How hard is this, you know? And what about their names? Viper, Lightning Rod? Come on, folks. Who are these people who think they're kidding? I mean, do they actually think there are listeners in Columbus that think these are their real names? Well, all right, maybe there are a few people that actually believe those are their real names, but we're not going to talk about those folks, and they're just mentally challenged, and that's their own problem. Let's talk about some other problems with the Blitz, okay? I mean, the names alone, what's next? Like Rick Rigamortis, Dennis Decomposing? You know, come on, let's just get a little more original, all right? And recently, they've started with this little funny comedy promotional thing they're running. If you ever watched Saturday Night Live, you may have seen the skit before. It's called Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. They play, like, beautiful music behind this little pleasant scene of seagulls and beaches and whatever, and then they say something really warped and twisted and funny. And the Blitz has blatantly ripped off this little skit from Saturday Night Live, and they're using it to their own benefit. But the problem is, folks, they're not funny. These are the most absolutely moronic promos I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know what kind of, like, idiotic genius comes up with these ideas, but look, folks, if you're going to blatantly rip something up for your own benefit, please make it funny. Use it to your advantage, for crying out loud. I mean, these things aren't even humorous. And I tell you what, I don't want to, like, you know, if you like listening to the Blitz, that's fine, that's your own prerogative. They play some good music every once in a while, but I do generally believe the majority of Blitz listeners are complete, absolute morons. And I'm not making a broad generalization, I have proof positive. For crying out loud, the DJs play the phone calls every night of, like, the most moronic listeners that call into the radio station. I mean, it's like, if you have dumb listeners to your radio station, do you really want to advertise that fact on your station? I mean, look, let's admit it. I mean, every radio station has a few wackos that call in, you know, on a regular basis, but the Blitz actually promotes these morons. I can't believe they want the rest of Columbus to know how dumb their listeners are. And apparently, 99.7 The Blitz has no problem with the rest of Columbus knowing that the main demographic of their radio station are 13 to 28 or illiterate dirtbags with a career in fast food and their homes have wheels on them. I'm just sorry, this is pathetic, it's sad, and they should stop abusing their listeners, okay? Let's talk about QFM for a little bit. Now, I admit it. Look, I used to work for QFM 96 a long, long time ago. I got fired. I deserved it. I'm a little bitter. I've gotten over it. It's been a couple years, but I still think that, folks, there are some problems with QFM 96, and I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing them up. It's an opinion program, I think we should be able to talk about these things, and if you have a lack of sense of humor or you work for the company, well, then that's your problem. Lighten up, buy the ticket, take the ride, okay? Let's talk about Wags and Elliot, okay? These people are sad. I mean, Wags is and always will be a no-talent hack that sucks the life out of other people that are actually funny, okay? And I tell you what, I can't believe that the Columbus radio public find entertainment in two overpaid, middle-aged, low-grade comedians and let them babble on for 4 hours a day about subjects that were already old 3 weeks earlier, okay? They should fire both their lame asses and let Dan Orr do the morning show. At least this guy's funny, for crying out loud. Put him on with the Joe Show. Joe Show's hilarious. And keep the sports guy. He's pretty good. You know, I tell you what, let's send Christy Kemper back to OU with all those sorority fluff chick wannabes who just want to get on radio or TV, get married, you know, live in the burbs, squeeze out 2.4 kids, and join the Columbus socialite scene. We don't need these women, okay? You know, go clean a house somewhere or something. I'm sorry. And I tell you what, Christ, Dan and Joe Show are the only two guys that actually deserve to make the money Wags and Elliot do. It is sickening how much these two sad individuals make in Columbus radio. I mean, plus, you know, at least Dan and Joe Show are a little more in tune to what's going on musically these days. At least they've picked up an album, you know, since like '78. Wags hasn't checked out the local music scene since he stopped splitting 8 balls with Munch and Tom Tone in the '80s, okay? And the only reason Elliot was hired is because he was a comedian. Personally, I would like my DJs to be able to recite word for word the entire first side of Kiss Destroyer, and I just don't think this guy has the credentials to do it. Now, let's talk about some other things that bother me about the morning show. Basically, the only thing funny that I find on the morning show are like TC, that's pretty funny. Mr. Manley, it's ignorant, but it's funny. Sports Guy's funny, but let's face it, folks, this has nothing to do with Wags and Elliot. Every funny bit on their program is either someone else brought into the station or they pay someone else to use their material. Why don't we just get rid of Wags and Elliot, put some other people that are actually funny on the radio station, and save the station 120 grand a year, okay? Let's get rid of these two bozos. They're not funny and they're pathetic. And let's talk about Funny Monday. They advertise Funny Monday like it's a big thing, okay? Every Monday, basically what they do is they play skits of other comedians that are actually funny. You know, they play like, you know, Steve Martin records or Dennis Miller records or Sam Kinison records that are actually enjoyable. Why don't we just like hire people who actually are funny? That way we don't have to like pay people an extensive amount of money just to play other people's funny material. It's just sad and it's not right. I tell you what, you know, they always run these promos that say like, oh, if you didn't listen to Wags and Elliot in the morning, here's what you missed. I think we should change the promo a little bit. I think we should have the promo say this: if you missed Wags and Elliot in the morning, you didn't miss jack shit, okay? Because these guys are not funny and they don't deserve the money they earn, okay? And let's talk a little bit about the music that QFM plays. QFM is the most blatant radio station as far as overplaying old music is concerned. Now, I mean, look, you know, personally, I think the Beatles and the Rolling Stones should be permanently retired to the oldie stations, okay? I mean, these guys are old and decrepit. They were great once. They're old now. Let's move on, okay? There's a lot better music out there, and I don't need to hear, you know, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles 5 times a day. And I tell you what, Led Zeppelin needs to be banned from radio altogether. Everyone has all 8 Led Zeppelin albums. We all know them. We've all memorized them. Do we really need to hear Led Zeppelin every night at 9 o'clock on QFM 96? I think we've heard all the songs, okay? But, you know, I've come up with a top 10 list of bands that I think should permanently be taken out of the Columbus radio. And I tell you what, both the Blitz and QFM are guilty of overplaying these bands. QFM especially. Let's start number 10. CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival. Good band. Great band, bad haircuts. I mean, you know, the drummer looks like Jim Henson, for Christ's sake. I don't know where these guys got their outfits, but I mean, you know, it's just like, I think they need to go, okay? Number 9, Steve Winwood. And QFM doesn't play him anymore, but goddamn it, when he had an album out, they were playing him 10 times a day. This guy has been lame since he got off drugs in the 70s, okay? And I think we just need to let this guy go and let him hang out with, like, Michael Bolton and like, let him play him on, like, Sunny 95 or something like that. Number 8, The Cars, okay? Good band. Good first album in 1978, okay, folks? I mean, you know, QFM just celebrated their 17th year of rockin' and rollin' Columbus. They're still playing the same crap they were playing in 1978. I mean, the Cars didn't even perform live when they were still together as a band, folks. Let's let these guys go, okay? You know, number 7, Eddie Money. You know, Eddie Money is sad, an ex-cop from New York who accidentally did like Drano instead of Blow, and I'm going to be forced to listen to this guy on the radio for the next 10, 20 years. You know, I'm sorry, it's sad. The guy has got to go. I mean, personally, I think the guy just sits around in his $1 million house and goes, well, you know, I need to running a little low on spending cash. I think I can crank out one more lame-o, sappy song that QFM will play over and over and over again, and they always do. Let's go with number 6, the Doobie Brothers. I like the Doobie Brothers for the name alone. But, you know, taking it to the streets went out when What's Happening was still in the air, folks, okay? You know, let's let these guys have a little rest. Number 5, we got a tie. Foghat and Kansas. Both these bands are absolutely the ultimate in lame. I mean, I think they're basically the same band. They just switched names like every year and toured the same places like Al Rosa, you know? It's like, and they only have one original member, like the drummer's brother or something like that. Or like, oh, you know, ex-true roadie from Foghat. Who cares, man? You know, how many times am I going to have to hear Slow Ride, okay? Let's let it go. Number 4, BTO. Good band, old band. When's the last time they put out an album? These guys are fatter than Meatloaf, okay? You know, they were a good band, but, you know, just seeing like 500-pound guys jumping up and down trying to do like David Lee Roth splits just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. Let's let it go. Getting down to the big 3, Peter Frampton. I'm sorry. This guy had one album 20 years ago, and we're still hearing the crap to this day just because the general manager of QFM once got high to do me wah. Come on now, let's let it go. Number 2, Steve Miller. This guy is so fat and bloated it makes me sick, okay? The only people that still keep Steve Miller afloat are the frat geeks who listen to it and their moronic girlfriends. And I tell you what, the frat system has ruined more good bands than I can ever possibly tell you about. Let's go with the Dead for a little while. I mean, the Dead used to be a fun thing to go to, and now like the frat boys and girls get in there with their Beamers and they're, you know, Jesus Christ, it's just like I've had enough, man. Let it go. Number 1 most offensive band in all of Columbus radio, it's Boston. You know, Boston had 3 albums, folks. One in 76, one in 78, and a really lame attempt that even they didn't want to put out in like 85, okay? You know, the only reason Boston put out their 3rd album is because they had to because of a record contract, all right? Sony was going to sue them if they didn't put it out. They had to. And of course, QFM being the rock and roll Columbus station had to play that damn thing 5 times every day. Good God, I mean, you know, just listen to the lyrics for crying out loud. Amanda, give me a break, all right? These people were just sad. Let's let Boston go. And the Blitz is even worse. I can't believe the Blitz plays them. Oh, you know, what a great, brilliant segue from Megadeth to Boston. I mean, the most bloated, overpaid, you know, overproduced band of the 70s for crying out loud. Let's let these people go, okay? And I tell you what, I'm getting tired of hearing about Pink Floyd. I used to be a very big Pink Floyd fan, not anymore. Basically now, it's just 3 old guys playing very loud music. And, you know, everyone just makes like such a big deal. It's not the second coming for crying out loud. It's not like Christ coming down like to save everybody. It's a fucking band, okay? And a bad band at that. Yes, I said it. They're a bad band. They were good, now they're not, and just because they put on a huge light show and they only tour once every 3 years, we still get suckered into paying an exuberant amount of money just so we can get so incredibly intoxicated we fall down, throw up, and forget the whole thing. Just so 10 years from now we can say, oh, I was at Floyd, man. Well, what a promotional pile of bullshit that is. And you knew it was going to happen? I mean, the remaining 2 members of the band spent like half a decade farting around in the studio with an extremely overpaid producer going, can you make it sound like Roger's still in the band? Basically, that's all they did, you know, just to put out a lame album that they knew was going to sell 1 million copies. And, of course, then they announced the big Pink Floyd tour. Ooh, they were only going to play stadiums, cost you $100 a ticket. And, of course, QFM is the concert authority, has to talk about just the possibility of Floyd coming. They were running promos a month before the show was even announced. And, folks, I was sick about hearing about Pink Floyd a month before they even announced the tickets were going on sale. And now we're going to be forced to listen to Pink Floyd Mania until the goddamn day of the show. Well, I don't say so. I don't want to hear it, man. You know, I'm thinking of all the great songs we're going to get to hear over and over and over again. Wish You Were Here. Never hear that one on the radio. Comfortably Numb. There's a new one. Great. You know, look, I don't have enough money to buy enough dope to really enjoy hearing Floyd on the radio 24 hours a day, folks, okay? I just don't have the stamina for it. Whew! All right, so anyhow, on my next tirade, you know, since we're on the subject of music, I've added a few other bands to the list of overplayed rock and rollers in Columbus. Let's talk about Van Halen, okay? Now, look, they were good with David Lee Roth, but let's get serious, okay? All Eddie wants to do is sit around and play piano and, you know, and screw around with his wife all day. Sammy's about as left-wing as Ted Nugent, and Alex lost all appeal when he sobered up, you know? But I tell you what, the most offensive member of Van Halen is Michael Anthony. Michael Anthony is a pussy. He has no bass talent. His solo consists of drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels filled with iced tea and playing the bass on his head. Big fucking deal, okay? The only reason he's in the band is because he can sing backup. Folks, if he was a black woman in the 50s, he would have been a Shirelle, okay? I think the phrase weakest link in the chain originated with Michael Anthony and Van Halen. And let's talk about Ted Nugent a little bit, shall we? I like Ted. Ted's a good guy, not exactly a literary giant, okay? Let's think of some of the Ted Nugent's greatest hits. Wang Dang, Sweet Poontang, Wango Tango, Yank Me, Crank Me. These are not exactly, you know, something that's really taken a long time to write. Good songs, but I'm not exactly saying it's up there with Shakespeare, okay? Just some other bands I can do without. Here's some bands that I can't even understand why they're played on the Blitz. The Blitz has such a screwed up, programming scheme. I don't know where they're coming from. They play Billy Idol 5 times a day. Folks, the only good thing Billy Idol's for is like riding bikes and hitting chicks in the face, okay? This guy hasn't had a hit in 10 years, and the Blitz plays White Wedding so much I feel like I'm back at a high school dance, okay? Joe Walsh. I like Joe Walsh. Smoking Joe is still great. He did a little too many drugs, but he's still a cool guy. But I mean, how many times am I going to have to hear Life's Been Good and Rocky Mountain Way for the rest of my life, okay? Let's let this guy go. He's got 18 albums. Let's pick some other songs to play, okay? ZZ Top. I don't even know where ZZ Top is these days. What are they now, like a country techno rock band? They're still spinning the guitars. They still got chicks in the videos, but now they got lasers, and I don't know where they're going. I don't know. I just don't understand it. Bad Company. I tell you what, Bad Company is pathetic, folks. Let's face it. Paul Rogers is, was, and always will be the voice of Bad Company. And I just feel bad for the guy. I mean, come on. The Firm, good attempt, had Jimmy Page. They're mediocre at best, folks. And I tell you what, the new Bad Company is downright sad. And of course, QFM keeps playing them because they got that old 70s rock and roll name, Bad Company. These morons in Columbus will keep listening to anything. Oh, I've heard of that before. I'll listen to it, whatever, you know. I tell you what, at least Axl Rose uses his teleprompter to help with the lyrics, all right? Lead singer for Bad Company uses it to talk to the crowd, for crying out loud, you know. He's reading it right off the thing. How you doing? Waiting for the next page, 5, 10 seconds go by. Columbus, great to be here. It's so sad, folks. I've never walked out of a concert before, but I tell you what, this was pathetic. And some other things on TV that bother me, cop shows. I am so sick and tired of cop shows. All they do is glorify all these pinheaded, donut-eating fat asses who do nothing but sit in their cruiser all day and bust like 14-year-old kids for selling a dime bag on the street. Because you know damn well all the cops do is they take the drugs, they either sell it themselves so they can bust someone else again and keep their career going. I mean, I just for once, I'd like to see one of those fat, donut-eating wastes of life get the crap kicked out of them by a group of redneck guys named Skeeter, Hey, I get the gun this time. I'd like to see that just once. And I tell you what, gossip column people. I am so sick and tired of seeing gossip column people on TV, like at the Joan Rivers show or Entertainment News Network. Who cares? It's always like these two flaming homosexual, like gay Wonder Twin guys. Who cares what Natalie from The Facts of Life is doing these days? I don't. And Joan Rivers makes it sound like this is big news. Who cares? Oh, God, I need a cigarette. All right, we're going to switch subjects here a little bit. And last week on the first show, I was talking a little bit about marijuana reform, my ideals about marijuana. And I'd like to continue that conversation a little bit because I was thinking over the weekend, and I tell you what, I like marijuana. There's some good things to marijuana. There are some bad things to marijuana. And I tell you what, you're a true stoner, and I actually witnessed this weekend. You're a true stoner when you have to write yourself a note to let you know where your car is in the morning, okay? I had a friend that actually had to write himself a map, folks. There's something definitely wrong with marijuana. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It makes you forget things, you forget names. I'm horrible at it. And I was thinking about something else. The phrase etc., ETC with little dots next to it. Etc. is a stoner phrase. The person that came up with etc. definitely was smoking a lot of dope. Basically what etc. means is, I could say a lot more, but I just don't feel like it. That's what etc. means, It's like you get it's just that kind of arrogant laziness you only get from smoking dope, And some things not to do while high, math. Prime example, folks, because just the arguments it creates alone, for crying out loud. I mean, smoking dope and math just don't go together. Try ordering a pizza when you're high with a group of people. Just doesn't work, man. It's like, all right, we got 6 pizzas, 2 subs, a garlic bread, 12-pack of beer, 2 packs of smokes. Okay, but I gave $4, you gave me 6. You owe me for the 12-pack last night, and I still owe you for the bag that I bought last week. So I should have 14, and it just goes on and on and on, folks. Just don't do it. It's dangerous. You should not do it. And I tell you what, like I said, I am for the reformation of marijuana. I think marijuana should be made illegal in this country, or should be made legal, excuse me. And even the Surgeon General agrees with me. Surgeon General came out, folks, and said that marijuana should be legal if cigarettes and alcohol are legal, and I agree with that. And now our government's trying to say, no, we're going to reform cigarettes, and we're going to make them an illegal narcotic, so it's going to be either impossible to get or more expensive. So here's what I'm hoping is going to happen. I'm hoping Clinton is really smart enough to do this, and I think he is. I think what we should do is make a real big scare, like we're going to make either cigarettes illegal or going to make them $6 a pack. That way, R.J. Reynolds and all the tobacco companies will get really scared about losing their profits, and Clinton will then force them to making marijuana legal, and I think it could happen. But I tell you what, there is a plot against drugs in our country, folks, and if you don't know it, you're blind, and it's blatantly based by the alcohol and tobacco companies of this country. And I tell you what, the alcohol and tobacco companies have bought off our government. Now, I have no proof. This is just opinions. Like I said, it's an opinion program. If you want to come on the show and voice your opinions, you're more than welcome to. But I really believe the alcohol and tobacco companies have bought off our government, and let me prove why. I think a long, long time ago, the alcohol and tobacco companies got together and said, look, if we keep marijuana legal, we're going to keep losing money. Which is ridiculous because think about it, folks. After you smoke a joint, basically the next thing you want is a six-pack of beer and a pack of smokes, okay? You know, as a matter of fact, the fast food companies in this country should get behind the legalization of marijuana. Think about the profits Taco Bell alone could make. Burger King should get involved, Pizza Hut, all these places, man. You know they'd be making money if marijuana is legal. They should get right behind that. But anyhow, so the alcohol and tobacco companies got together with the government and said, look, we want you to come up with some lies that you can feed the American public. Tell them marijuana's bad. Tell them it's bad. Because that way, if the government says marijuana's bad, the people will believe it, because people always believe the government. So the government came up with all these little slogans and sayings and little things to make people actually believe marijuana's bad. Where do you think the whole Just Say No campaign came from, folks? I mean, Nancy Reagan bought her entire wardrobe and China collection based on money they got from the DEA, man, and, you know, and from organizations like the tobacco and alcohol companies. They took all that money, put it right in their pockets, and bought stuff with it. I mean, you know, and I tell you what, I don't want people teaching my kids about drugs. We've got people in schools teaching kids about drugs. And I tell you what, unless you've actually smoked dope, I don't think you should have anything to say about it, okay? I'd much rather have me teaching my kids about pot than some nimrod that's never smoked a joint before, okay? And, you know, I tell you what, it's like, and of course, don't worry, I don't have kids yet or anything like that, but, you know, don't worry about it. You know, the government is paid off by the alcohol and tobacco companies, and they're knowingly forcing false information to the public in order to make a profit for themselves. Oops, lost Alice. Okay. So anyhow, I'm going to talk about a few other things. Let's talk about tow truck companies, folks. Just one more thing that makes me upset. And there are a lot of them in Columbus, and if you live on campus, you know what I'm talking about. You've probably been towed by one of these bastards before. There's a lot of companies, Inbred and Sons, or Barnhart and Sons, as you know, they may be known. I tell you what, these people are scumbags, man. It just going to their place is scary enough, man. They got this hole down on like 5th Avenue and 71. These people haven't bathed since David Lee Roth's been in Van Halen, folks. And I tell you what, you can't tell me any one of these illiterate bastards have more than a 4th grade education, okay? And it's just sad, and you know, it's just pathetic. And I tell you what, the most offensive tow truck company in all of Columbus is Shamrock Towing. And I hate these bastards to death, folks, and you should too. If you've ever been towed by them, you know what I'm talking about. And I tell you what, here's what I think we should do. Here's what I'd like to propose. The next time you see a Shamrock tow truck on campus, because you know if they're on campus, they're just towing people just to make money. If you see them other places, maybe they're doing a good deed, probably not. But on campus, you know they're just towing you just to make a little couple extra bucks. So the next time you see a Shamrock tow truck, roll down your window, stick your arm out the window, and give them the finger, okay? Just to let them know what's going on. I'm not advocating violence or anything like that, you know. It's perfectly legal. Don't have to worry about it. Just give them the finger because it feels great, just to let them know how we feel about them. And I was watching the news the other night, and they were talking about how the Columbus Police Department is cracking down on DUIs, which is a good thing. You shouldn't drink and drive, obviously. But I was wondering about the Anheuser-Busch company. And my theory is, like, I mean, like, everyone's gone to Anheuser-Busch, you know, once in their lives or heard about somebody that's gone there. They take a little tour, and they give you 2 free beers, which is nice, which is a nice thing. But my question is, if Anheuser-Busch is trying to be so responsible about know when to say when and don't drink and drive, you had to drive to the brewery to take the tour. They give you 2 free beers. How do they expect you to get home? I mean, do they really expect you to take the tour and not have the 2 free beers? How many people actually take the tour and don't get the 2 free beers? That's the whole point of taking the tour. They are blatantly letting people drink and drive. So if the cops are really so serious about busting down on DUIs, they should hang out in the parking lots of the breweries, because these are where the people are driving home. They know they're getting beer there. You know, and my question is, if people are going to drink and drive, folks. If you really want to cut down on drinking and driving, the only way we're going to have to do it is we're going to have to demand that no one can sell beer to anyone who has a car. We have to actually deliver the beer to your house once you drink it in your home, because otherwise you're going to have to drive somewhere with the beer. If you drive to go pick it up, you're going to have to drive home. What's to say you can't drink one of those beers while you're driving home? You can't prevent it. So let's just let it go, man. Just be a little careful on the road, okay, folks? I'm not advocating drinking and driving. I'm just saying that maybe we should just be a little more careful with things. And I tell you what, one last thing I'm going to get going here. I want to talk about Ricky Rockman. This little evil bastard. I tell you what, if you ever watch MTV, you like heavy metal music, you probably watch Headbangers Ball. And this little rat bastard weasel, I don't know who this guy blew to get on MTV, but it obviously has to be somebody high up in management, because I cannot understand how this little weasel got on TV. I think Axl Rose definitely had something to do with it. I don't know. I heard something about Axl and gerbils. I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I don't know. It's just a rumor. I'm not saying anything for a fact. But let's get this guy off the air, okay? He's the biggest brown-nosing asshole on public television today. I cannot believe they gave this guy a job. And just to show what a weasel this guy is, he actually cut his hair just to keep his job on MTV. I mean, you know, if you're a rocker and you grow your hair for a long time, you know the painstaking things you have to go through to keep your hair long. I can't believe this guy cut his hair just to keep his weaselly, slimy job on MTV, and this guy should be taken off the air. So I'm going to get a campaign. I want to have everyone start writing letters to MTV demanding that Ricky Rockman is off the air. Let's get him off the air. Let's kill him, execute him, hang him. If you find him in the streets, go out and take him. No, I can't say that. I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. These are opinions, folks. So anyhow, you've been watching What the Hell Was That, and I thank you for watching. We're going to have a couple more programs here in the near future. If you'd like to come on the program, we're going to have a phone number at the end of the show, so you can give us a call and let us know what you think about the program. And if you'd like to come on as a studio member of the studio audience, you're more than welcome to. We're looking for people to sign up for some of the special programs. Like I said, we're going to have a telethon for Satan sometime in the near future. We're looking for people to answer the phones, raising money for Satan. Looking for young, attractive women, preferably under the age of 14, to dance naked and spend the money down for Satan as the cash comes in. So if you're interested in something like that, or you know someone who would pay to do something like that, have them give us a call at the number. And again, you've been watching What the Hell Was That? Thank you for watching, and keep the peace. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Fritz the Night Owl. Just a reminder that ACTV, Public Access Television here in Columbus, is a service for all the people. It's a forum for free speech. It's a means for you to give your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas. It's a vehicle to produce your own kind of shows. ACTV will provide the equipment, give you the training to get the kind of show you want on the air, where all of your friends, neighbors, and other people in Columbus can see it. Free speech, it's alive and well on ACTV.